welcome back to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, talking with Jacques Bergerin.
Yes,
all right.
We'll get there.
You'll get there. By the end of the show, I'll get it right.
Yes.
And of course, if anybody on the Facebook live stream wants to ask a question or a comment, just type it into the comment section of the video and we'll read it off and acknowledge you. So please keep it coming. And thank you for all the love on the Facebook live stream as well. Okay, Jacques, so you studied with Itzhak, you saw it as a great tool for yourself, but then you also realized it was something that you can use to help other people.
Yeah.
Was there any moment or incident or a particular thing that happened that just made the light click on for you that was like, oh, I can use this to help other people? Or was it just sort of like a natural progression?
It was a natural progression for me in many ways because, out of high school, I right away studied history and I became a history teacher in high school.
Oh.
And so the teaching aspect had been like an integrated part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And as like a history teacher and then teaching dance and then teaching yoga. So all these things, it was always about teaching and sharing things. And about helping. Especially that's what I loved about teenagers, really see people grow and giving them the tools so they can make the next step on their journey.
Right.
And that was always there. And the working with Itzhak provided me really a new realm to work in and to work on a different level with people.
Right.
And then I found this course which was called the Jaguar Path in Massachusetts, and there's this guy who connects yoga and shamanism.
Oh.
And it kind of so that flowed out of dance, yoga, shamanism, and then shamanism. It was kind of a funny thing.
Oh, okay.
And he provided over 9 months the tools to do healings with people.
Right.
And so when he said, this is what I teach you, but you want to try it out on your friends, and I was like, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. And I was in the fortunate circumstance at that moment that I was teaching in a yoga studio that doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, but that I had helped renovate, and I got free space use of the massage room, and I was like, I'm going to use that because it's NASA. Why not?
Yeah, New York City getting free use of a space is a very rare thing.
Yes. So it was, that was I had the perfect setup really to start practicing, and so I started inviting my friends, and then more people that I knew, and then I started inviting the yoga teachers of the yoga studio, and then I started spreading the word. When I was taking other workshops myself in terms of healing methods or qigong or tai chi or whatever, and so it was gradually it spread the word and me and growing, and as the year progressed, during that year I learned more tools and I could try out more things and
And how long ago was that?
That was in 2014 and 15.
14 and 15.
Yep.
So about almost 3
years.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. And so then when you started working with people and you started, did you have any big successes early on that kind of really encouraged you to keep going on this path?
It was really great to work with the yoga teachers because they were already in a state of mind that they wanted to change and improve their lives.
Right.
And that really gave me some amazing setups. Some of the yoga teachers they were like, oh my God, this is happening in my relationships, and can you work with me on that? I said, let's give it a shot. Let's see where we can go with this. And most of the time, with 2-3 sessions with the same person, I could work on the relationship issue, going back to earlier experiences. Sometimes doing a soul retrieval and and finishing it up with a cord cutting, either with the person that they had been involved with, or sometimes with one of their parents or both parents.
But was there a particular aspect of the shamanic healing work that really spoke to you, or was it just everything, like you just was a sponge and just absorbed everything and integrated it all together?
Initially, it seemed to be everything, but what I really found over time was that the connection of having like an experienced understanding of the body really was a great combination with like the shamanic work, because for me the shamanic work became like the spiritual vehicle to work out the traumas like with a capital T or a lowercase t like in people's bodies. And so I was able to use the tools of shamanism, of indigenous people, to change the spiritual and emotional setting of people's lives, and sometimes combine it, with with exercises that would help them to find like their core center, their physical center, as well, to help them support them in the process as well.
Right. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So for our audience who maybe, has not had a healing session with a shaman, well, why don't we just kind of walk through it, like what it's like, what someone should expect if they go to see yourself or just anybody, and I know everybody is different, but just to give them a little bit of an idea, like why would someone come to see a shaman for healing?
I think that one of the basic things that is often neglected in our society is that we are made up of energy, and that energy, and that we create like energy flow, but we also create energy blockages when we are not able to process certain things. And our society is very oriented, like as a general rule, onto like the brain. The brain is the most important part of the body, and that's where everything happens. Like in shamanism, the brain is not the most important part. Like in shamanism, like it is the energy and the heart, that are really at the core of everything. And it's kind of like a lost. Well, not entirely lost. Like it's like in upcoming again, like as we speak the last 20 years. But the energy aspect is often like overlooked in our traditional Western, I should say traditional, because in our Western approach. In our
modern Western approach.
Yes, because like the traditional ways are really like the indigenous.
Right. That's I say it all the time. When people say traditional medicine, I'm like, this is modern medicine. Traditional medicine is much, much older.
Right. And it goes back like 30, 40, 50,000 years of like human experience. And in earlier centuries, we really our society dismissed that kind of knowledge. But what you see is that science nowadays starts more and more validating everything that's happening within shamanic societies as well.
Right. So somebody comes to you, let's say they have some kind of trauma, they're not feeling good in their body, they come to you, like what do you do? How can you tell like what they need?
And first of all, I have a conversation with them and see what's going on. And then I'm trying to figure out what the emotional underpinnings are to start off with. And sometimes people have like already like a whole story that's ready to go, like about their parents or their grandparents or their brothers or sisters. Most of the time it's a story that develops. And so I'm trying to get a clarity about the story that's there. I also try to figure out if people have like a spiritual practice or if they have a physical practice, because both are wonderful instruments in a healing process. And it really tells me a little bit like if people are how far they're on the road of self-healing. So I'm trying to get an idea of where they're at, and if there is like big emotional shifts at a certain point that's connected to an event in their lives, I am determining, okay, which way are we going to go with that? And most of the time I end up going in the direction of soul retrieval, but not always.
So what do you mean, let's just define our terms for our audience. What do you mean by soul retrieval?
In shamanic societies, the idea is that when something happens that we cannot process, and we call it trauma, and that part of the soul leaves. And so what you want to do in a context like that, you want to go on a journey into like people's subconscious, and with them or without them, but always with the permission of their soul. And you will go on a journey and find out where that piece of the soul is, and then ask that piece of the soul to come back. And so you can take it back and put it back into and blow it back physically into the person's and in their crown chakra.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. And so, what typically is the reaction when that happens? Like, you know, when you do a soul retrieval for somebody, like, what happens when they get off the table?
It's very different.
Okay.
Like some people start crying because
Okay.
the healing process is so overwhelming for them.
Right.
Some people are just like, oh my God, like, and it's like there's quarters falling and the light bulbs are going off. And it's fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
And other people are like really peaceful and they're quiet and they're like, wow. And it's just so each person responds very differently to the process.
Right, right.
But you can see in their eyes, and you can see in their body language. You know, like you see how their face changes, how their body changes, and how you know, there is sometimes certain movements that they make, or there is like more relaxation in their face or body that really shows what has happened. You know.
Right.
And that, you know, to see that and to see that something has happened, you know, in that process, that's for me one of the most fulfilling parts of doing this work. Because, you know, being able to like provide a tool and to see that the person says, I'll take that tool, I'm going to go and run with it and I'm going to use it because this is good for me. And then the trust that they have to do that is phenomenal. Like that's
so you give your clients homework. So if they come to see you and you do stuff with them, and then it's like, okay, you should, you know, try this practice, try that practice, or try doing this exercise, whatever, so that then they have something that they're actually doing on their own.
Absolutely, because you know the healing session is really like the start. You know, it is like when the first things are shed, and that you know that the first things have happened, and the major thing has like major skin has been shed. But the next thing is that people need to take it with them and need to go out. You know, I had this wonderful lady who was a yoga teacher initially, and she started coming for a couple sessions in the beginning, then didn't come for like a whole year, and in the beginning of this year she came back and she was like, Jacques, there's something, I need to figure this out. You know, like I have problems with my money situation, I cannot find the right job that I'm looking for. You know, I'm done with being by myself, like I'm looking for like a buddy, like how do we do this? You know, can you help me with this? And every single time that we started the session, you know, the first time we worked on finding her power animals, and she right away, she went home, she started researching it, and she started working with the power animals, and it was phenomenal.
Wonderful.
Next time, you know, she started like working with her job applications. The next time was like talking with her supervisor. Every single time that she came in, she took whatever happened in that hour session and the suggestions that came out of that, you know, both from herself and sometimes from insights that I had. And she would run with it and explore, and it's been like an amazing journey.
So then the effects would be both sort of energetic, personal, and like physical and practical in a way.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, it's time for us to take another commercial break. When we come back, let's just talk about like how what you do is maybe different from what other practitioners do, and like, you know, what's your flavor of it. Okay. So everybody, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, and we'll be back right after these messages.